figured it's about time we look at something I've been needing to repair for a while. I think since December. Yeah, it's been what, 5 months? Time flies. It's the STEAMPUNK chair. I've had this thing sort of stashed away in the corner back over here for a while. I plugged it in and charged the batteries a couple of times, but now that we have everything here from storage, I've got the parts I need to repair it. Or, well, we need to take a look at it and see what exactly is going on. First off, the as you can see, this caster wheel is not turning. There's still some bark dust from the forest floor down there. When my van suddenly stopped going 45 miles an hour, this pink chair was behind it, and it came forward and collided with this thing and bent this arm pretty good around, and this tire wouldn't move anymore. My friend's dad attached a pipe wrench and tried to sort of bend the thing out.
Get over here.
Oh, we got it.
Sucker.
A little bit better. Okay, let's take a look at that. Just enough so that this wheel would clear the frame and at least make it so I could, you know, sit in the thing and get back into my house with it. But if you notice here, this is a little more oval shaped than round because of some pipe wrenching. And if I move the chair around, you will see that that does not turn. So what we're going to do right now, I'm going to pull that arm off of there, and I've got another chair that, well, basically just a power base, a C300 that a friend gave me a while back, and we're going to replace that arm at least, so the thing will roll around. Then we need to check on the frame and make sure it hasn't been collapsed at all, and make sure it's not putting pressure on the batteries, making sure the batteries aren't leaking, all that good stuff, because there was a serious amount of load put on the bottom of this chair when the van stopped suddenly, and the easy lock was the only thing holding it in place. So I'm going to set the camera down on the floor, and we're going to rip this off here real quick and see what it looks like. Alright, that was fairly easy. There's just a shaft here that goes onto, and I'm going to clean that up and grease it a little bit. And you can see we've got some bushings down inside here. But yeah, this oval shape actually doesn't show on the camera very well, but yeah, this is pretty much trash. Luckily, I have in stock one of these. So we're just going to pull this arm off of here, and then we can jam it right onto that thing. Okay, that was actually pretty easy. We got all the bolts and stuff back on there. We have a wheel that spins now. This thing is actually straight. You may have noticed this extra spring that I took off. There's another one over here as well. That was from a previous video. I don't remember which one it was right off, but I'll try and link that up in the card up here and in the description if I figure out which one it is. But that was to prevent some of the rattling that these chairs have. Now, this doesn't have nearly as many miles on it as the one that came on this chair, and the purpose of the spring was to attach on here and give this some upward preload, because when you go over bumps, this whole mechanism would kind of rattle. But the bushings in this are in pretty good shape. If nothing else, I mean, it functions on that side like I want it to, but I'm probably going to reinstall it over here just because of the looks. I mean, it kind of goes with a chair. This chair has a lot of miles on it. There you go. 5,168 miles. That's quite a bit for one of these chairs. But yeah, if some of you don't know, I swapped the F3 motors onto this thing a long time ago and made it go a little bit faster and whatnot. But as you can see, we still have a bunch of dirt on these tires from when the emergency services extracted this thing from the woods, getting it back out of my van and whatnot. Oh, and also, there's sort of this little thing just for looks that was welded onto the back as well. That also popped off during the whole thing. Yeah, there you can see what it looks like on the other side of the chair. So I will probably at some point hammer this thing back flat because, yeah, and then re-weld this on here. It just kind of goes with the aesthetics of the chair. It doesn't really have any function, but anyways, I'm gonna grab the drill. I'm gonna re-drill this hole here so we can reinstall. Where'd it go? This bolt right here, or eye hook, or whatever you'd call that. Oh boy, I forgot how thick that metal is. Holy crap. Okay, I'm gonna have to rest for a few minutes. Ugh. Alright, the thing seems to be back in one piece now. At least it can move around and all the caster wheels turn and everything. So what we're going to do at this point, I'm going to lift the seat elevator back up and then sort of look at the frame of the thing and also maybe pull the front cover off, take a look at the batteries, see if they've been compromised or if anything's been smashed or whatnot. And then also I'm going to try and see if I can get a shot underneath the chair to show you what happened to the easy lock during the crash. So I can tell already the frame on this thing is pretty tweaked. I'm not sure if the camera's gonna pick it up, but if you look at this bottom edge right here and these two vertical pieces of sheet metal, this whole back section is like rotated like that. Can you see it? Yeah, if you kind of compare this top part here with the top edge of this battery, you can see the whole thing is just tweaked a little bit. Looks like there's still space on either side of the battery in the back. Let's look at the front. Oh, wow. Okay, so you see this tab right here? Normally that sticks straight out in the front and engages with sort of a hook on the floor to keep the chair from rotating. But do you see... Can you see how this is bent up like this? It normally should be down here. So... yeah, that whole thing bent up with a pretty significant amount of force. I mean, that's 1/4-inch steel there. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Now, looking at the front of this thing, it actually looks pretty straight. If you look at the lines here, where the motors and the wheels are on both sides. Kind of compare that with the top here and the bottom. It looks like the front is pretty much okay. I think what happened to the back was when this chair went flying forward and smashed into it, it twisted that caster wheel around. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, the motor on this side is tilted out a little bit. Yeah, you can see everything's a little bit trapezoidal right here. Yeah, this front cover got a little bit broken as well. I'm gonna pop that off real quick and take a look in there. Oh. I don't know what's been going on down in here. We've got... I don't know if that's venting from the battery or what exactly happened there. Yeah, this fuse holder here is cracked as well. I'm going to pull the cable off the rear battery and disconnect all this and take a look. Because the last thing we need is a direct short from one of these cables rubbing on the chassis of the chair somewhere. The back being as bent as it is, So I think, yeah, I'm going to rip the batteries out of it and inspect things a little bit further. And try to determine if it is like safe to use even though it's a little bit tweaked. I used a lot of hot glue all over this chair to try and keep everything from rattling. I'm just realizing I don't think I've ever had the batteries out of this thing. I can't stand it when chairs rattle. So I kind of went a little bit overboard with everything to make sure that wasn't going to happen. I think we can get the controller lifted out of here now. I did also hot glue all of the connections onto the controller since it's kind of hanging out in the air with no cover over it. That was sort of my answer to water mitigation, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get this hot glue off the controller. There you can see I just sort of sealed everything. The nice thing with this clear hot glue though is it'll just kind of pop right off. You can just kind of get the diagonal cutters up against it and it'll sort of peel right off of there. Well, it's going to take a little bit of screwing around, but it will come off. Okay, there's our power cable. Luckily I did not glue the Arnett cable on. Now we can just sort of move this off to the side. We'll leave the other two connected for now. These C300s have this bar that goes across the top here, so it makes it a little bit tricky to get the batteries out with all the wires in here still. That does not want to come out of there. Well, I get my screwdriver down the side, and as you can see, the frame doesn't seem to be pushing up against the battery. See how it slides back and forth pretty easily? So I'm going to go ahead and say we're good to go on that. These cables up here look fine. This stuff on top of the other battery was some leftover white lithium grease. When I was trying to de-squeak everything on this, I had sort of sprayed that everywhere. So I think I'm just going to clean up that battery. Clean up this one a little bit, maybe blow some air in there, get some of the dirt out. And try to straighten out this bottom lip here just a little bit. And then I think we should be all right. Even though the back of this is tweaked, I don't think it's going to be an issue necessarily. These tires are pretty bald anyhow. But I'm going to check the rest of the bolts and fasteners and make sure nothing on the drive units got stripped out or anything like that. There we go. That looks pretty good. Alrighty, I've gotten the thing cleaned up a bit, and I want to check a couple more things on this. As you can see, our battery is all nice and shiny now. Everything looks pretty much fine on it. I'll have to get that reattached and these wires and stuff. I'll probably also jam some cardboard in on each side of the battery here. I like to do that on most chairs just to keep the batteries from sliding around and kind of hold them in place. There's something about abrasions when the batteries are sort of like loose in there and just kind of shuffle around. And I don't want to saw a hole in the side of one of these things. But right now, what we're going to do, I'm going to grab the floor jack and bring it over here. We're going to pop the wheels off on each side, and then we're going to double check the bolts on the drive units. Permobile calls the motors and the gearboxes drive units. By the way, Permobile gearboxes are very, very simple. There's basically one moving part, if you don't count the output shaft of the motor. I'll link a video up here in which I took these apart. They use these Delrin gears, and they're really, really cool. But yeah, let's get the jack over here. I'm just running over tools. Oh, yeah, and this front cover broke. I do have another one around here somewhere. I know right where it was in the storage unit, but as you can see, yeah, it's somewhere. Also, I'm probably going to swap out these armrests. These were the cloth ones at one point, but as you can see, over the years, they just get kind of full of crud and nasty. I've got this other C300 over here. This one is actually a pretty cool chair. It's an old style one, but it's got really nice vinyl armrests on it, so I'll probably swap those over. But this one was set up for powering a ventilator, so it's got a 24 to 12 volt converter built into it, and a bunch of extra accessories and things like that. So I may have to swap that over to this thing at some point. There are 5 bolts down here There's 4 of them that attach this whole mechanism with the anti-tipper on to the drive unit and the drive unit onto the chair. This one down here is it's the pivot point for, well, I can't flex it, but the sort of suspension that the anti-tipper has. But I'm just basically gonna hit these, not with that, and also they're smaller. These are the 5mm ones. There we go. And I don't know why I was going to use the impact. It's better to do this by hand. There's a definite feel when it comes to tightening up things like this. You can't really explain it. Actually, that seems fine. Yeah, those are good. Then I'm just going to kind of eyeball the gap on everything here. This plate, it looks pretty straight. I think we're good. And again, this is just sort of a utility chair. If we do have a little bit of camber on the drive wheels, it's not too big a deal. It will wear out the tires quicker, but this is just my work boot, so I don't necessarily care about this thing being in pristine condition. All right, let's jam this wheel on and then check the other side. I just realized there is one thing I need to fix on this. This fuse holder, as you can see, well, maybe you can, I don't know. We've got some bare wires right here. So I'm gonna unscrew this thing and double check to make sure. Oh yeah. So we're gonna need to recrimp this wire in here. It's just got a little Allen key there. So I'll just grab the Allen wrench, shove this back in, tighten it up, and then we should be good to reinstall the battery. I think we're ready to power it up and see if it works. We've got everything put back on here now. I've got all the wiring reattached. I've zip tied everything back in place. I haven't added any hot glue yet. Probably not going to do that right off. I got the motor wires zip tied on here. I've got this carriage zip tied on. These are attached. So nothing here should be jiggling. Oh, let's see if our lights work. Hey! Ooh, and they're in color changing mode. Nice. All right, moment of truth. Will it power up? Let's turn those off. Hey, it's alive. We've got ICS. Cool. All right, there we go. I think, need to adjust these side guards. Everything became a little bit loose on this chair for some reason. Let's look at it from the back here and see, as I run over the ramp, and see if everything looks like it lines up. Yeah, I think we're pretty good. I mean, that battery box is a little crooked, but who cares? All right, well, since I've already got the tools out and I'm doing everything, let's go ahead and rip these armrests off of here real quick. Oh, that chair has a front cover on it too. Yeah, so let's rip the armrests off of this, because the joystick's not mounted to them. So it's gonna be pretty easy to take these off. This joystick was set up as an attendant control, sort of. But yeah, let's take those off. Let's get the front cover off, jam it on here, and get this thing as complete as possible today. Alrighty, I've pulled the armrests off of this other chair here. These 2G seating ones are kind of interesting. They have this weird little sort of eye bolt adjustment arrangement. These 2 bars stick through and they're on pivots in here. And you loosen up these nuts on this side and it loosens up this eye bolt, which clamps on these little rods. So you loosen these, then you set your angle and height and whatever you want, and then clamp these back down. Interesting arrangement. The way these old chairs are set up, you can't raise and lower this bar right here. So they mitigate that by making the armrest height adjustable on the armrest itself. But these are super easy to take out. It's a 6mm Allen bolt. Basically just loosen these, unscrew them, and then lift up and slide the thing off. It's easier when they're not rusty. There we go. Yeah, a little bit of rust in there. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit and then we'll jam this new one on. But that's basically the process. You just take them off, stick this one on. Actually, that's for the other side. See the tab sticking out? This tab right here engages on this part, and that's what sets the height when it flips down all the way. So all the way to your arms is basically hanging off this part and this little tab right here. But I'm gonna get these put on, get them adjusted, and then I will be back. And here we go. This is pretty much the finished product. Boy, it looks really long with the foot plates down. But yeah, I've got the new armrests on here. As you can see, these are nice vinyl. They're not all cracked and broken. I mean, obviously they have hit some walls and stuff, but whatever. Got the grip tape that I put on there a while back. I like to swap on skateboard grip tape on chairs. It works a lot better, in my opinion, than the stock stuff. Still need to do a few little things here and there. The leg rests, there's some bushings and things that are going to need to be taken care of. A lot of things can happen when there's an impact like that. But yeah, I think we're back on track here. The thing's together. Got the RGB lighting going. I'm just going to kind of piece together a few other little things on it here and there as time goes on. I do eventually want to cut a piece of diamond plate to put on the back of this. And then also we're going to be changing the tires on this as well. We're going to do like a version 2.0 of this chair. I found some air-filled tires that fit on here with basically minimal modification. And they had a little bit more height to it, but it improves the ride quality quite a bit. And there's a neat little trick for the offset on these to make them fit. And then we've got, you know, little plastics like this that are broken. I mean, that's probably not too big of a deal, but yeah, I don't know where it went. There's a giant piece of diamond plate in here somewhere, but the 2G seating has this plastic on it. And I figure if I cut the diamond plate to fit inside this area and then just pop rivet it on here, it's going to help out the rigidity quite a bit. Plus, it'll also look pretty cool, I think. I might have to paint the diamond plate black, but I don't know. We'll figure that out at some point. But again, it's nice for now to actually have this thing working again. It's kind of been in the back of my mind for the last like 5 months or so, just kind of looking at it. I'm still amazed by the anti-rotation bar on this thing and how bent it got. I'm going to point the chair kind of this direction. I'm going to back up over here and zoom in so maybe you can see it a little easier. Yeah, see that little metal tab right there? That thing's normally flat. So I don't know what happened during the crash. I don't know. I mean, if the chair tipped forward far enough to bend that, I'm not sure how that would have even happened. Because the anti-tippers would have hit the ground first. They are spring-loaded, but the steel on those doesn't seem to be deformed at all. I would think if the chair flipped forward enough to actually bend that thing, this would just be completely mangled because these don't have that much travel. I mean, they do have a little spring on here that allows for some movement, but yeah, it's pretty crazy. As far as the Easy Lock, I'm going to have to remove that because that tab is bent up now and it interferes with the leg rests. That's going to involve tipping the chair on its side or lifting it up or doing something, and I think we'll cover that at a later time. But that thing is definitely bowed now, and it'll be interesting to see that. I might include that in the last part of the WC19 video. And again, the Quantum 4 front is sitting here. It's such a nice looking chair, but tomorrow I'm meeting with a disability rights attorney, and we're going to see what we can do. I can modify this thing, so in my eyes it's like safe and get it set up the way I want. I was just realizing though, warranties don't necessarily matter because anytime you get anything on your chair repaired, your DME or your dealer still bills your insurance for the labor. So I think warranties are pretty much irrelevant. Like your main chair that the insurance has on file, they just pay for the repairs and maintenance. So I don't think a warranty really matters. But anyways, I'll see what the lawyer says tomorrow and then I'll formulate a decision as to what I want to do with this thing. I do like the chair and I do like the way it rides, but the way Quantum has been doing things, I really don't want anything to do with them. At this point, I just want this thing to go away. And I don't care if it takes another 6 or 8 months, but I think if I can get him to return it, I'm going to do it and just go with a different brand. I'm not sure what brand at this point, but there's always Permobil, I guess. I don't know, whatever. It's so nice to have this chair back online. I forgot how comfortable it was. Anyways, I think that's good for now. I got the armrests pretty much adjusted on it. I need to replace the back fabric and sort of adjust the lateral supports on the side and whatnot, but yeah, I think we're pretty much good to go at this point. The thing runs around and works, and it doesn't really feel like anything's loose under there, so there are some pretty significant flat spots in the tires, though. Plus the 120 amp controller is nice. All right, I'll catch you guys in a few days.